Martin Luther King hosts just about a week after he writes to Chavez. He hosts a gathering called the Minority Group Conference, and Chavez is not present at the Minority Group Conference, but it's a planning meeting for the Poor People's Campaign, and many of the other leading Latino voices and Native American voices, and the voices of kind of people like poor whites struggling, in Appalachia, or working in coal mines, like those. A lot of the leading folks around the country from other movements were present at the minority group conference. And Chavez wasn't able to attend, but he did send a representative of the farm workers. And the Latino and Native American leaders, people like Jorge Gonzalez, Reyes Tejerina, Hank Williams of the American Indian Movement, and many others, were also critical of King, or not so sure about forming an alliance with King. And the reason was, when King first began to engage in these kind of multiracial organizing efforts in Chicago a couple of years ago, he had made certain kind of mistakes that had alienated Mexican American and Puerto Rican groups in Chicago. For example, there was an instance in Chicago when an unarmed Puerto Rican man was shot and killed by police, and the Puerto Rican community was kind of rising up in the streets. And King reached out to some Puerto Rican leaders and said that he would hold a rally and a demonstration for them. But when the Puerto Rican community showed up, King basically just kind of talked about his own ideas, didn't really listen to theirs, didn't really show that he understood kind of what the Puerto Rican community specifically was facing, and kind of just asked the community to support his cause instead of really learning about what they wanted. And so King did things like this a number of times in Chicago. And so the Latino and Native American organizers who showed up at the minority group conference were concerned. And so they expressed to him in a very forceful way. They basically said, "Look, King, if you want us to participate in the Poor People's Campaign, you have to show us that you really care about us and you really care about our issues. And you really have to share power. This cannot just be kind of all about you. This cannot be your campaign. This has to be our campaign." And this is a crucial lesson for solidarity, a crucial lesson for multiracial alliance building. Um, and King shows them that he has indeed, learned from some of his past mistakes. And he does talk about issues like land rights issues that Mexican Americans are asking for in the Southwest. And he talks about the need for Native Americans to have access to the resources, on their reservations. And so, in these efforts, in his own words, King is proving to them that he has learned from some of his own, mistakes in the past. The leaders that are present at the minority group conference tell King that he needs to share power. He needs to share decision-making power. Um, he needs to share power in terms of the media. They say that the media cannot just focus on King. If they're going to join King in his cause, their own organization and their own demands need to get media attention as well. And funding also, sharing power also means that funding can't just go to King's organization, but really has to be shared. So King makes certain promises at the minority group conference. And among those promises, he says that he is going to strengthen his ties with Latino and Native American groups. by going on a tour of Native American reservations and by going on a tour of Mexican American migrant labor camps. And after the minority group conference, Martin Luther King also plans an actual sit-down meeting with Cesar Chavez for the first time. However, a strike amongst African American sanitation workers breaks out in Memphis, Florida, and it's looking like a chaotic and dangerous situation, and King feels a lot of pressure to go and kind of take care of the situation. And so he actually cancels his tours and he cancels his meeting with Cesar Chavez as well. And he goes down to Memphis, and around the time that he would have been meeting with Chavez, he's assassinated. And so we don't really know where King would have gone with this multiracial kind of alliance building in the struggle against poverty.